Can you remember a convention where you had kind of an implausible scenario where from 4 years ago, who would have thought that Bill Clinton and Barack Obama would have been so, or at least from the president's perspective, tied to the hip, necessary to provide a message? Is there a convention you can remember where certainly what wouldn't have been considered political allies or political necessities at this point?
Well, in 1980, at one point, Ronald Reagan, who would be the nominee, considered putting Gerald Ford, the former president of the United States, on his ticket as vice president. Ford said, but I have to be in charge of foreign policy. In other words, a co-presidency. Yeah. That wouldn't work. That's the closest it comes.
Expectations tonight, from what we understand, it's an unvetted speech by Bill Clinton. Everybody remembers his great oratorical skills, but he was almost booed at a convention for going on way too long.
Oh, but that was in 1988 when he nominated Michael Dukakis. I remember I was on the convention floor with downtown Willie Brown, who was then the Speaker of the House in California. And when Clinton finally said, and in conclusion, there was a roar of approval from the whole convention.
What does he have to hit on tonight? Everyone talks about this being an identity politic-driven convention. He's going for the middle-class white voter, they say, who might have voted for Obama 4 years ago and isn't too sure now. What's the messaging tonight?
It's the one that we always use as a cliche about Bill Clinton. We feel your pain. We feel your pain. The middle class, the people who have to work for a living, the people who are out of jobs, yes, but we're going to get you back in. If you turn it back to the Republicans who put us in this mess, we'll be right back in the hole. We're digging out for you. I mean, it's the middle class they have to try to appeal to. I sometimes paraphrase Lincoln. You know, God must have loved the middle class. He made so many of them, and they vote.
Well, talking about the vote here, do you think we're going to be talking a lot the week after the election about voter ID laws across the country? I know lawyers for both sides are farmed out all over the country. Is this going to be a bigger issue than you think people imagine?
You mean a close election like 2000?
Well, not only that, but a lot of people turned away at the polls that think that they have the necessary documentation, et cetera, and they're going to find out otherwise.
It's always a problem. And of course, the Republicans in many states now are pushing the voter ID laws. You have to have a picture identification to vote. It makes sense to a lot of people. You have to have it to drive and what have you. But in voting, it does restrict people who are poor and who don't have a lot of moxie, but are U.S. citizens and therefore have the right to vote. It restricts them from voting. And the theory the Republicans have, of course, is they might vote Democratic. Yep. So the Republicans suddenly think we have to do it just that way. I don't know how the election's going to turn out. 6 months ago, I would have said it's a slam dunk for almost any Republican nominee because of the economy. Today, it's much closer because all the polls say, yes, Mitt Romney might do a better job getting us out of this economic hole, but we like Barack Obama so much better. It's the Clinton thing. He speaks to us. We know who he is because he has lived the lives we're living, whereas Mitt Romney, a decent guy, has lived a different life.
Is there a chance that the messaging from Clinton tonight might have a perverse effect of saying, yeah, you know, when he was president, we did have surpluses. When he was president, the unemployment was a heck of a lot lower. Hey, you know what? Different steward, different result here. Could a boomerang on the president?
Well, I don't think so because of what happened when Barack Obama was elected. We were already off the cliff and headed for real economic disaster. And the previous 8 years had not been Bill Clinton. When he left office, as you point out, relatively good times.
But everybody makes that comparison, Sam, to at least FDR they were 2 or 3 years into it, and everybody knew how bad it was. The worst didn't happen until presidency started, and then all of the calamitous effects of the crash of 2008 really happened at this point. A lot of people still blame the president, even if he inherited it.
No, that's right. Because if you're out of a job, if you've lost your home, to try to tell, well, it happened 4 years ago. No, it's happened now, and the guy in charge, the great battle cry of American politics from the beginning of our republic has been, throw the bums out when times are bad, no matter who the bums are. Try a new bunch of bums. So the president, Mr. Barack Obama, has the worst part of this argument. Can he close the deal even though he does? I would have said 6 months ago he couldn't. But now this likability factor, who speaks to me, who feels your pain best, is out there.
Do you have any sense in the next 60 days, the special interest money and how it's going to pour into those swing states? Do you think that we've seen anything even resembling it?
Sheldon Adelson, who put $10 million behind Newt Gingrich, and that didn't work, has said he'll invest, if necessary, $100 million for Mitt Romney in a pack, of course.
Yep.
You can't give $2,400 to he and Miriam each.
Yeah.
I mean, the Supreme Court Citizen United case, which goes back to the court previously saying, well, you know, money is speech, and speech is money. And then corporations are people, and therefore, First Amendment, corporations can spend anything they want. You and I can't.
Yep.
To a direct campaign, but to a PAC that can actually get in there and say, vote for Romney or vote for Obama, yes.
You said 6 months ago you felt strongly the Republican would win, and maybe even in a walk. Would you put the odds now a toss-up?
I don't know. I mean, see, what does 50-50 mean? See, I don't know. Oh, it's 50-50. I have never understood those odds. Yeah. I think Romney probably still has a slight edge. This economy is not going to improve noticeably. If he gets on message and stays on message and keeps hammering home, I've got the business experience, I know how to do it. Paul Ryan actually could get in the way, though, I think.
Yeah.
He put him on the ticket, Romney did, in order to solidify the base, which has never really trusted him. But Ryan brings a certain edge there. And if you heard his speech the other night, Ryan clearly doesn't care what he says.
Nope. And Medicare all of a sudden an issue, and it wasn't before. Finally, do you get the sense that we're going to be talking in 60 days here about the debates, that finally the debates really going to push over the edge?
I think the debates could be very important. Many years they have been, as you know. It's not a question if someone has a wrong fact. How do they come across? I'll tell you a little story, which you don't have to, which you're not going to use, except because it's too long. I watched the debates in 2004, and I remember the issues, Iraq, et cetera, et cetera. The only thing I really remember the debate was in the second one. John Kerry once, at one point, said, well, Mr. President, you know, you get dividends from a lumber company. Ordinary Americans don't get that kind of dividends. And Bush said, I own a lumber company? And you could tell he really didn't know. And he had actually gotten $70 worth of dividends. And Kerry says, yes, you have in your trusted lumber company, you got the dividends. And Bush said, need wood? Well, he suddenly comes across as just kind of a nice human guy, self-deprecating and all of that. I'm not saying that kind of incident we'll have at these debates, but there'll be a moment, at least in one of them, where the person reveals himself. And what he reveals is either, hey, great, or not so great, and it could make a difference.